So we are standing in what Sergio and the team has been working on. This was a surprise to me today. Oh. But we are standing in the all-new studio that we've created just honestly to raise the bar and raise all of our content level. And really, most importantly, documenting special cars and significant cars. And we couldn't be standing with a more perfect car for this moment, for this first content here in the studio. I've said this many times, if I had to own 2 cars for the rest of my life, I can't afford one of these today, but my dream would be to have a really special Lamborghini Diablo and a CLK DTM. Preferably a CLK DTM cabriolet because it has the rear seats, which the coupes did not have. This is not a regular CLK by any means. This is not a standard Mercedes. This is a completely reimagined race car for the street. And that's what I love about this car. This actual car we're standing with was one of the first cars that came to the US. These cars were only allowed into the US under the show and display law, which if you don't know what the show and display law, it was basically allowed special cars, something like this, the opportunity to bring into the US. They were limited to 2,500 miles a year. The EPA still required you to convert all of the emissions equipment, but the DOT through show and display, you don't have to change the bumpers or anything like that. So this is one of the early cars that came to the US. This is a car that when we first started, I purchased. We had the opportunity to purchase this, a Carrera GT, an SLS Black Series, and a few other cars from a very, very impressive collection at Palm Beach, Porsche 959, CLK GTR, Ferrari FXX, some really incredible cars, and this was one of them. And when I first drove this car, I then truly understood what made it feel special.
Definitely a dream come true to be traveling in this area and to be driving one of my dream cars that I have never had the opportunity to actually drive. It is one of 80 for the world, CLK DTM Cabriolet.
There's something about this car and the way it puts down power, the way it takes a turn, that I've never really experienced in any other road car.
Wow!
And what makes this car so different is the fact that this was not actually built or conceived of really by AMG or Mercedes. This is the brainchild of the genius at HWA.
HWA did magic on this engine. It's just perfect. And the way this car puts down power and then is completely balanced is just something that you really don't see. It almost feels like a 4-wheel drive car.
We've probably talked about this on the channel many times. As you guys know, we're a big supporter of everything that comes out of HWA. The story goes, Hans-Werner Aufrecht, as you guys know, started AMG, was Mr. Major, and then later, in 1997, AMG would be acquired by Mercedes-Benz. That's why they call it pre-merger AMG and then post-merger AMG. And at that point, Mr. Aufrecht would go on to create HWA for his name. And HWA would basically become the Skunk Works, the racing division of everything AMG and Mercedes. And HWA is most known as the most winning championship team in the German DTM series. And if you don't know about DTM, you need to look it up. It's a very important series. All of the manufacturers, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, basically competing with these sedans and different cars in that series. And this car was the birthchild of basically celebrating the 2003 championship won by Bernd Schneider.
Bernd Schneider comes across, the new champion of the series.
Bernd Schneider is considered one of the greatest drivers from CLK GTR, the DTM series.
Bernd Schneider accelerates onto the start-finish straight. The checkered flag waves. Mercedes-Benz celebrates as they win.
And he won the championship, and Mercedes decided to produce 100 coupes to celebrate that. And this car was basically built inside HWA, produced by HWA. So everything on this car from the front to rear has been reimagined, including the engine. Now this is the standard, the same base as the E55 and the SLR, but what's different about the engine is the superchargers have been basically retuned, forged internals, different camshafts, different intake system, producing almost 600 horsepower. I think the exact figure is like 582 horsepower. Suspension, brakes, the wheels, the fenders, the front bumper. When you go around this car, every single part is different. There's no rear seats, all of the carbon fiber cladding throughout the interior. There's basically no door panels. There's this incredible traction control system that I mentioned before. It puts down power like no other car I've ever felt. And there's just so many cool features about this car when you walk around it, from the wing to the rear apron. And even one of my favorite features, and you guys are gonna love this, is the carbon fiber gas door. Again, it shows the attention to detail and weight savings. And when these cars first came out, 100 were produced for the world. And if you go down the list of famous and celebrity owners, it's really cool to see, because so many Formula One drivers actually owned these cars new. The following year, they announced an additional 80 cars built for production, which would be the cabriolet version. And the really only difference between the cabriolet version and the coupe, obviously 80 cars produced versus 100, but the cabs had a very cool carbon fiber bucket rear seats, which the coupe obviously has no rear seat. These cars are just so cool. They're so special. When you think of this concept, this is all about function. This is all about producing the world's greatest road car, and just so much racing influence in this car. I'll never forget this exact car. About 10 years ago, we sold it, and don't quote me on this, I want to say it was around $350,000, which everyone at the time, they didn't understand this car yet. Last year, I think it was November, during the Vegas Formula One race, a very low mileage coupe sold right around $700,000 or $750,000. I think these cars are just starting to get the recognition they deserve. I think one of the factors is when these cars were originally new, they weren't legal in the US. So none originally came to the US unless you brought it on show and display. I think even from the concept of understanding that this is built by HWA, the same brand that built the CLK GTR and went racing and completely winning with that, I think that is now completely understood, and just very much understanding the true details, the uniqueness, the rarity. So you'll see that the probably part I love most about this car is in the interior. You have the racing steering wheel. This is all different from any, obviously, stock CLK. No sunroof, obviously, here. The carbon fiber buckets, the door panels. I mean, this is, completely out of a race car. I mean, nothing is standard here. And then the entire rear shelf, if you look, the rear panels here, the entire rear shelf is carbon, and all of the switch console. I mean, this is purely all function and about basically a race car for the street, which is just so cool. Another feature that I love about the DTM cars is, even though there was only 100 coupes produced for the world, Mercedes AMG still produced a specific owner's manual with all of the features and the nuances. Getting started as you're driving your CLK DTM, it's just so cool to see this. Deactivate your traction control, all these different features, selecting the drive program. Here's the steering wheel controls, page up, exactly like a race car. And I think it's super cool that they produced this owner's manual for the DTM. In many ways, I don't think we'll ever see manufacturers producing cars like this again. Hopefully, things today like the Gordon Murray car, other interesting supercars, yes, but a major manufacturer like Mercedes-Benz, like Ferrari, like Lamborghini, I do not think we will see anything like this produced again from a major manufacturer. I absolutely love this car personally, and it's so excited to share it with you guys for the first time in our new studio. Let us know what else you'd like to see from our inventory here, up close and personal, with some beautiful B-roll and a bunch of nerded out facts.